America's cemeteries are not just for the dead. They are for the living, to remember loved ones in a tranquil, reverential setting, for people of all ages to walk amongst the natural beauty, to see art so majestic it won't fit in any museum, to get a closer look at America's colorful history, to gaze upon timeless architecture, in particular, the crown jewel of cemeteries, the magnificent mausoleums, and to step inside these monuments to single families, communities, and famous Americans. This is the Rome Monument Company's video, Tour U.S. Cemeteries and Mausoleums, Episode 1. Get crypt and niche prices for caskets and cremated remains in New York, Georgia, and Ohio.
Tours are a wonderful way to dive into culture and art and history and learn about the final resting places of distinguished Americans.
In this series of videos, we'll take you on a journey to some of the most beautiful and historic cemeteries, burial spaces, and mausoleums across America. We'll crisscross the country from New York to California with dozens of stops in between. We'll visit indoor and outdoor public or community mausoleums, which are large structures inside the cemetery, accessible to anyone, and with crypts and niches available to the general public. We'll see custom-designed private mausoleums, which can be ground vaults, walk-in or non-walk-in buildings, built to hold the remains of one person or one family, and which are typically located in a private cemetery plot and which are not open to the general public. We'll look at the different types of private family mausoleums that hold one crypt, 2 crypts, 3 crypts, 4 crypts, all the way up to 16 crypts and more. We'll tour private mausoleums that are open to the public. These are generally for prominent individuals and families, such as presidents and others that Americans are interested in paying their respects to and learning more about. And we'll give you mausoleum, crypt, and niche prices in cemeteries throughout the U.S. The most expensive states for public mausoleum, crypts, and niches tend to be those with higher costs of living and more affluent populations. These states include New York, California, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Florida. The least expensive states for public mausoleum, crypts, and niches tend to be those with lower costs of living. These include Mississippi, Arkansas, West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Alabama. Prices can vary significantly with each state. We'll start our whirlwind tour in New York. In the early 1800s, people were buried in churchyards in the heart of the city. When these became overcrowded and unsanitary, bodies in cemeteries were moved to the countryside where large park-like cemeteries were built, and the rural cemetery movement was born. Today, there are more than a dozen rural cemeteries near the line separating Queens and Brooklyn in an area called the Cemetery Belt. Greenwood Cemetery, Brooklyn, New York. In 1838, New York built Greenwood Cemetery across the river in rural Brooklyn. Enter through the Gothic gates and experience the burial sites of 570,000 permanent residents in 478 spectacular acres of winding paths, hills, valleys, glacial ponds, trees, and wildlife. It's a landscape that millions of visitors have walked through for almost 200 years. In fact, in the mid-1800s, Greenwood Cemetery was one of New York State's most popular tourist attractions, second only to Niagara Falls. Greenwood is where you'll find one of the largest outdoor collection of 19th and 20th century statuary and mausoleums and the burial sites of notables such as Leonard Bernstein, Boss Tweed, Louis Comfort Tiffany, plus sports legends, war heroes, politicians, artists, entertainers, and inventors. Greenwood also features several community mausoleums for cremated remains or above-ground entombment for the general public.
Entombment involves placing a casket or a crypt or sealed chamber inside a mausoleum. Cremation urns are also placed within mausoleums.
You can purchase a community mausoleum crypt for $40,000 or a niche for about $2,300 to $19,000. You can also purchase cemetery spaces. A mausoleum site at Greenwood goes for about $500,000. Woodlawn Cemetery, the Bronx, New York. Just down the road from Greenwood is Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx. Founded in 1863, it's one of the largest and most historically significant cemeteries in the U.S. It's the resting place for over 300,000 individuals and covers more than 400 acres of hills, lakes, and meadows, with many unique and elaborate memorials and monuments designed by famous architects, plus over 1,300 private mausoleums, including the Egyptian-style inspired Woolworth Mausoleum.
It's an example of Egyptian architecture. Check out the hand-carved twin sphinxes that guard the tomb.
Woodlawn also has several public mausoleums offering crypts priced between $27,000 and $1.5 million, and niches between $750 and $2,800. You can purchase an estate plot for your own custom mausoleum for a cost of $200,000 to $1.5 million. Calvary Cemetery, Queens, New York. Calvary Cemetery, established in 1848, is a Catholic cemetery in Queens. Covering 365 acres, it has the largest number of interments of any cemetery in the U.S., with about 3 million burials. The cemetery is the final resting place of many notable individuals and home to several notable private mausoleums. St. Calixtus Chapel Mausoleum is a public mausoleum where the cost of a niche space ranges from about $2,000 to $23,000. The cost of a single crypt space ranges from about $10,500 to $11,500. The cost of an estate plot for your own family mausoleum at Calvary Cemetery is priced between about $100 and $120 per square foot. Guided tours explore Calvary's history, art, and natural beauty.
Public Docent mausoleum tours at beautifully landscaped cemeteries like this one guide your discovery of history, culture, architecture, art, and the final resting places of distinguished Americans.
Grant's Tomb, Manhattan, New York. We can't leave New York City without visiting the largest mausoleum in North America, Grant's Tomb, officially known as General Grant National Memorial. Built in 1897, it's the final resting place of Ulysses S. Grant, Civil War general and 18th President of the United States, and his wife, Julia. Grant's Civil War and presidential memorabilia is displayed inside. The tomb is designed in the neoclassical style, modeled after the mausoleum at Halicarnassus.
The word mausoleum is derived from the 4th century BC tomb in Halicarnassus, now a part of Turkey, for King Mausolus.
Grant's Tomb, managed by the National Park Service, is open year-round to the public for free. The interior of the mausoleum is open Wednesday through Sunday. Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, Sleepy Hollow, New York. If you dare, travel 30 miles up the Hudson River to the home of Washington Irving's classic Legend of Sleepy Hollow and the Headless Horseman, Sleepy Hollow, New York, where you'll find Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, a historic and picturesque cemetery established in 1849. It spans 90 acres of beautiful landscapes with numerous mausoleums and monuments. It's the final resting place of Washington Irving himself. Notable mausoleums include those built for Andrew Carnegie, Walter Chrysler, William Rockefeller, and Leona Helmsley.
The Helmsley Mausoleum in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in New York cost $1.4 million to build in 2007. It features a stained glass window showing the skyline of Manhattan.
In the Community Mausoleum, the cost of a niche space ranges from $2,500 to $3,500. A crypt space ranges from $24,800 to $28,400. Prices for estate lots for your own private mausoleum in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery start at around $25,000. Let's take a trip down the coast to Savannah, Georgia, home to some of the most beautiful cemeteries in the country. But before visiting the cemeteries, be sure to take in the sights of this charming riverfront city, filled with beautiful architecture, cobblestone streets, and picturesque squares. It's like stepping back in time. Colonial Park Cemetery, Savannah, Georgia. While exploring the historic district of Savannah, you can't miss the Colonial Park Cemetery, with over 10,000 graves, but only a few hundred gravestones remaining. Established in 1750, Colonial Park Cemetery served as Savannah's cemetery for more than a century and currently covers about 6 acres. It holds fascinating grave markers, monuments, and above-ground burial vaults. Look closely and you'll see a few colonial-era single crypt mausoleums for prosperous Savannah citizens in the late 1700s and early 1800s. These mausoleums were built with brick because marble and granite were not available at the time in Savannah. Interestingly, Colonial Park doubled as a dueling ground for feuds that were resolved in the way of the times. Several famous people were killed in duels and are buried there. They no longer offer duels or burials in Colonial Park Cemetery, but they do offer fascinating guided tours. Bonaventure Cemetery, Savannah, Georgia. Just east of downtown Savannah is Bonaventure Cemetery, established in 1846 on a scenic bluff overlooking the Wilmington River. The cemetery is known for its stunning landscapes, with Spanish moss-draped live oaks and lush greenery. It's been a world-famous tourist destination for more than 150 years due to the old tree-lined roadways, the many notable persons interred there, the unique cemetery sculpture and architecture, and the folklore associated with the site and the people. Bonaventure Cemetery is home to several notable mausoleums. The cemetery is no longer accepting new burials, but the cost of a crypt in the mausoleum is $1,200 for entombment. The cost of a niche in the Columbarium is about $800. Oakland Cemetery, Atlanta, Georgia. Let's travel across the state to historic Oakland Cemetery, Atlanta's oldest public park and the final resting place of many of the city's most noted citizens. Established in 1850, its 48 acres are full of treasures, history and gardens, sculpture and architecture, ancient oaks and magnolias. Oakland Cemetery is the final resting place of more than 70,000 individuals. Among its residents are soldiers, mayors, governors, captains of industry, pioneers, authors, and trailblazers. Over 50 mausoleums for the city's wealthiest elite dot Oakland's landscape. Built in the 1880s, the iconic Richards Mausoleum combines Romanesque and Gothic accents, complete with gargoyles. This popular venue is available for events like weddings and can accommodate up to 100 guests. In Oakland's public mausoleum, a basic graveside service and mausoleum crypt costs about $800 to $1,400. Mausoleum Inurment in a niche costs about $700 to $1,400. And be sure to take the 90-minute walking tour of the grounds. Oakland Cemetery is free to visit. We can't leave Georgia without first visiting the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park, covering 35 acres in Atlanta and including the mausoleum for King Jr. and his wife Coretta. Inscribed on the granite front is an excerpt from his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. The mausoleum is set in the middle of a reflecting pool. The reflecting pool is reminiscent of another reflecting pool built in 1653 as part of the Taj Mahal, a mausoleum constructed of marble in Agra, India. The park is administered by the National Park Service and has a visitor center and museum. Now it's time to leave Georgia and fly north to Ohio. Lakeview Cemetery, Cleveland, Ohio. Lakeview Cemetery, founded in 1869, is a historic and picturesque garden cemetery containing about 110,000 graves. On any given day, you can see people of all ages taking in its 285 acres of rolling landscapes, wildlife, ponds, incredible architecture, funerary art, and historical mausoleums. The centerpiece of the cemetery is the President James A. Garfield Memorial. Completed in 1890, is representative of the Gilded Age. Its elaborate and grand design combines Byzantine, Gothic, and Romanesque Revival architectural styles. A 12-foot-high marble statue of Garfield greets you inside the entrance. The interior is adorned with beautiful stained glass windows designed by world-renowned glassmaker Louis Comfort Tiffany.
Stained glass windows are beautiful works of art. Window designs may represent a religious theme, a landscape, a person, or a family. They tell a story or depict a scene that is meaningful to the family or individual being entombed.
Bas-relief panels depict scenes from Garfield's life. The hall is supported by deep red granite columns, adding to the grandeur of the space. A dome covered in gold mosaics creates a luminous and grand appearance. The lower crypt level houses the bronze caskets of President Garfield, his wife Lucretia, and other family members. Urns hold the ashes of the president's daughter and her husband. The third level opens to a terrace with sweeping views of the cemetery and downtown Cleveland. Oil Baron John D. Rockefeller has an obelisk-style mausoleum at Lakeview. Mark Hanna has this neoclassical-style mausoleum. It not only holds the crypt for the wealthy business tycoon, but for a total of 16 family members in crypts that line the inner walls. Lakeview is filled with mausoleums from the 19th century to the present, and each one is cared for and maintained to preserve their beauty and integrity. This classic Gothic-style mausoleum from the early 1900s is echoed in this modern-style Gothic mausoleum, built in adjoining Mayfield Cemetery in the early 2000s. Lakeview Cemetery boasts a beautiful outdoor mausoleum columbarium complex. Garden crypt mausoleums at Lakeview cost between $6,500 and $7,500. Its indoor mausoleum showcases a modern design and a comfortable and comforting interior space, with crypts from community mausoleums costing between $7,000 and $30,000. Before we leave Lakeview Cemetery, we need to visit the Wade Memorial Chapel, where funerals are held in a beautiful chapel designed by Louis Comfort Tiffany. It features a casket stand that lowers the casket into a receiving vault with over 60 crypts to hold the caskets until they are ready for burial. New mausoleums are being built on lots that are available at Lakeview Cemetery. The mausoleums are either constructed on site or delivered to the cemetery pre-assembled at the factory of a mausoleum designer and builder such as the Rome Monument Company.
The design and construction of a custom private family mausoleum is commissioned by an individual or a family. They are built with high-quality granite and comply to the impeccable construction standards detailed in the architectural rendering or blueprint that's provided to the customer by the mausoleum builder.
Estate plots start at $85,000. Western Reserve Memorial Gardens, Cleveland, Ohio. Western Reserve Memorial Gardens, established in 1963, is located in a peaceful setting with beautiful outdoor and indoor spaces for crypts and niches. Walk through the doors of the Chapel Mausoleum, a public mausoleum with a dedicated chapel for services, place for worship and reflection, and that is usually designed with chapel-style architecture. This chapel has several walls with granite crypts for the caskets of the deceased. Prices for crypts typically start at around $4,000 and can go up depending on the location and features. It also has niches for the cremated remains of an individual. The cost for niches generally ranges from $2,000 to $3,000. In an adjoining room, there are banks of glass front niches, which display the urns and memorabilia of the deceased. Notice the variety and creativity of the urn designs. Western Reserve also has architecturally stunning outdoor mausoleums for the crypts of the deceased in a manicured garden setting. You'll also find outdoor columbaria holding the cremated remains of the individual. The crypt and niche front can be quite decorative, and families often leave flowers as an expression of their love for a lost one. There is about to be a service at this standalone columbarium. The niche fronts have been removed for the placement of the urns of a husband and wife inside. The fronts are then replaced and sealed for posterity. In addition to large, non-denominational gardens, Western Reserve is also proud to be the home of one of the largest veterans gardens in northern Ohio. They also have plenty of private family mausoleums, and estate plots for custom mausoleums are available. Call for prices. Glendale Cemetery, Akron, Ohio. Just an hour south of Cleveland is Glendale Cemetery, an historic and picturesque cemetery established in 1839. The cemetery is known for its beautiful landscapes, walking paths, and numerous mausoleums and monuments. It spans 85 hilly acres and features over 28,000 memorials in a variety of architectural styles. The cemetery has mausoleums for many prominent Akron citizens, including industrialists, bankers, and politicians. Take a look inside, and you'll see they've spared no expense in creating an indoor paradise. At Glendale's Columbarium and Cremation Garden, you can purchase a niche for about $3,750.
This is a columbarium. The ashes of the deceased are placed here in niches. The doors of the niches can be etched with artwork or inscribed with names.
Glendale Cemetery continues to offer burial services and has thousands of burial sites available for gravesites or new private family mausoleums. McKinley National Memorial, Canton, Ohio. Just a few miles southeast of Glendale Cemetery is the McKinley National Memorial, built in 1907 for President William McKinley, 25th President of the United States. It features a circular domed structure made of pink granite. The coffins of the President and First Lady are entombed above ground in double sarcophagi of green granite. Tours are available Tuesday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you everybody for being here today. I hope you join me next time for another episode.
In the next episode of Tour U.S. Cemeteries and Mausoleums, we'll visit historic cemeteries and magnificent mausoleums in California, Oregon, Louisiana, Florida, Pennsylvania, and more.
If you'd like to talk to a mausoleum expert, just call Rome Monument and they'll be happy to help you out.